So here's me thinking Khamzat Chimaev will be Adesanya's next opponent, seeing as he's moving up a weight class. You know, it's a new fighter that Adesanya hasn't fought before, who presents him with some problems with regards to wrestling. It's exciting. But I hear that Chimaev is fighting Paulo Costa next. Now, the backstory between that would be that 7 months ago, when Paulo Costa was training, Chimaev came along and there was a verbal altercation between the two. And I do like that fight, I must admit. That fight to me is exciting. I believe that if there is a story to tell, you have to tell it. And that is how these big UFC fights come around. No one cares in actual fact about the belt. No one gives a shit about the ability of the fighters. If there is a good story, people will watch. I mean, for example, and I'm not saying these guys don't have good ability. These are two examples I'll give you. McGregor versus Khabib with the bus. That is a great story and probably a big reason why the people tuned in. DC versus John Jones, the bad blood there. You know, the two of them hated each other. That's another reason why everyone watched. So for me, the ability, the belt doesn't mean anything. If there's a good story, and it's what the UFC is. It's a storytelling business. You know, if there's a good story, as I was saying before, the UFC will put on the fight because it will sell. So Chimaev will be fighting Paulo Costa. That's the general consensus going around. But this kind of puts Adesanya at a standstill for me. You know, I don't think they're going to give Adesanya Whittaker, who's already lost twice. Arguably could have won one of the fights, but who's lost twice. I don't see them giving it to Vettori or Jared Cannonier. So we really, in actual fact, in this middleweight division, have to drop all the way to rank number 6, Du Plessis, to find Adesanya at a fight, a guy who is fresh meat. You know, we could have picked Khamzat, but he's now occupied with Costa. So Du Plessis, rank 6, is the next fight that would be logical in terms of giving Adesanya someone who he's not fought before. And I do believe that Adesanya will want to push for that fight because I think for him it's an easy fight. I don't think that Du Plessis is a very good fighter in my opinion. Some of you may think differently, but they can play on the fact that there was some beef between them. Du Plessis calling Adesanya not a real African. Those two have beef. I think that Du Plessis also has beef with Kamaru Usman. Again, the same reason he was saying that Kamaru Usman isn't really a true African because he only grew up there for 2 or 3 years and then moved away, blah, 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 and Du Plessis was in Africa pretty much his entire life. So they could play on that narrative. Again, a good story. If there is a story to tell, I said before, you must tell it. So they could play on that story, but I don't think they will because Du Plessis isn't that good of a fighter and Adesanya will easily breeze past him. But I do see Adesanya pushing for that fight because for me, that fight is easier than a Alex Pereira. Now, the only viable option I see at this point now for the UFC is the Pereira trilogy. Now, one, they can either give Adesanya Du Plessis as a sort of in-between fight whilst Pereira recovers, and then Pereira will have to fight Adesanya, but I don't see them doing that. I see them letting Adesanya take a break and Pereira being the next fight for Adesanya. We're going to see them enter the octagon again. And some of you may say, look, you're a Pereira fan, saying that he hasn't settled the score is only because of that. Look, a guy who has a 25% win ratio against another guy hasn't settled the score, and in no world does that mean he's settled the score. He was the better man on the night. He got the knockout. I thought he was brilliant. I thought Alex Pereira performed very poorly. I think he could have performed better, but he has won the most fights between the two of them, and for me that's the fight that's going to be next. It's the only option for the UFC apart from Du Plessis, who isn't the best fighter, as I said before. And I'm not too sure if this is actually the best option for Pereira. You know, seeing as he's just suffered a massive knockout, he's never been knocked out like this in his career. Is this the best option for Pereira? Maybe not, but I still see the UFC making it. It will make them the most money. I think it will generate the most sales. There will be beef between the both of them, and Adesanya will really play up to the cameras. Pereira will play up as well, and I think that's what the UFC are going to do. But who do you guys think Adesanya is going to fight next? Do you think it'll be Pereira? Do you think it'll be Du Plessis? Or do you think it is going to be someone completely different, please let me know in the comments below. See you guys later.